Just after midnight local time over the Persian Gulf, early warning radar networks in the United Arab Emirates register a sudden, massive thermal anomaly lifting off the southern Iranian coastline. It is not a drill. It is not a sensor ghost. Military tracking stations watch as the fast-moving returns break into multiple vectors over the dark water. At first, the tracks look scattered, almost confused. Some drop low and disappear into the heavy sea clutter. Others split unexpectedly, multiplying the threat in real time. The airspace over the Gulf is a tangled web of commercial corridors, crowded with inbound civilian traffic from Munich, Amsterdam, and Zurich. Cruise missiles flying barely above the wave tops begin slipping between these civilian flight paths, like wolves moving through a herd of sheep. Inside the Emirati air defense network, operators are forced to start dropping civilian transponder overlays from their screens one sector at a time just to make sense of the incoming barrage. The air picture is rapidly becoming unreadable. Emergency directives immediately hit regional aviation channels. Flights carrying thousands of passengers are forced into steep banks, turning away mid-route. Others hold helplessly over the water with fuel calculations running down minute by minute, while military frequencies completely override civilian traffic control. The trap has been sprung, but the true target of this saturation is not what it appears to be. Then the first interceptors launch. Residents along the Dubai coastline see narrow white columns of exhaust rising inland before the deafening sound even reaches them. Seconds later, high above the sprawling city, small blinding flashes begin appearing across the night sky. Interceptors are climbing hard and detonating in close proximity to the incoming threats, sending burning debris falling into the Gulf. But the attack is much wider and far more complex than anticipated. Cruise missiles are approaching from multiple directions at high speeds, while loitering munitions and suicide drones arrive much slower and lower. This forces the defensive batteries to divide their engagement priorities across separate altitude bands and velocity profiles. It is the tactical equivalent of trying to swat mosquitoes and stop a speeding truck at the exact same time using the same weapon. Radar operators begin losing tracks against the jagged coastline as thermal signatures overlap and merge. Communications channels flood with duplicate confirmations, clogging the network. One loitering munition slips cleanly through the first defensive ring near Abu Dhabi before disappearing from radar entirely. No confirmation follows. The airport shut down almost immediately after. Ground crews abandon loading operations beside half-fueled aircraft, sprinting for cover while departure boards freeze across both Dubai and Abu Dhabi terminals. Thousands of passengers remain trapped inside darkened gate areas, as airport authorities kill large portions of the lighting grid to reduce visibility from the sky. Outside the cities, mobile missile batteries continue firing relentlessly into the night. The interceptions become visible from nearly every residential district. Short bursts of orange light above the skyline, followed by 3 more in rapid succession over the Gulf. But the pressure on the defensive network increases exponentially after reports emerge from the Strait of Hormuz. 3 American Arleigh Burke-class destroyers transiting the narrow corridor have already engaged Iranian missile launches hours earlier. Now, the maritime confrontation is spilling west across the Gulf states themselves. In the Strait, the sea traffic has collapsed into utter confusion. Commercial tankers begin emergency course changes, desperately trying to avoid the crossfire, while the American destroyers push through the narrow shipping lanes under severe missile warning conditions. The United States ship Truxtun, United States ship Rafael Peralta, and United States ship Mason are already operating at combat spacing when Iranian fast attack boats appear on surface radar. They are moving out from the coastline in a dispersed formation. It is not a swarm, it is a series of probing attacks. These boats are designed specifically to force the heavily armed destroyers to illuminate their targets and expose their engagement priorities to coastal monitoring stations. Then the ballistic missile launches begin from deeper inland, threatening to overwhelm the formation. The Aegis combat systems aboard the 3 destroyers immediately shift from surface tracking to full missile defense operations. Vertical launch cells open across the decks almost simultaneously. Standard missiles climb into the darkness over the strait, their exhaust painting the night, while advanced electronic warfare systems begin saturating the surrounding frequencies to blind the incoming seekers. For several tense minutes, the battle exists mostly on radar screens deep inside the combat information centers. Moving symbols, altitude numbers dropping, signal breaks. Then the horizon literally lights up. One Iranian missile breaks apart over the water after a successful interception, scattering burning fragments across the primary shipping lane. Another drops low enough to trigger the automated defensive guns aboard one of the destroyers. Tracer fire cuts across the strait in long, controlled bursts, creating a wall of tungsten and depleted uranium. Civilian crews watching from nearby vulnerable tankers can see the engagement unfolding across multiple directions at once, missiles streaking overhead. Fast attack boats burning furiously near the shipping lane. One damaged commercial tanker drifting broadside after losing steering control to targeted precision fire. The strait is no longer functioning as a vital commercial corridor for the global energy market. It is transformed into an active, unforgiving combat zone where millions of dollars in ordnance are exchanged in seconds. Back inside the United Arab Emirates, the second wave arrives before emergency crews can even finish assessing the damage from the first. This time, the drones come significantly lower. Some follow the contours of the coastline, while others approach through tiny gaps between urban radar reflections generated by the towering cities themselves. Air defense crews are forced to begin repositioning their mobile systems away from fixed launch sites after intelligence warns that Iranian surveillance platforms may already be tracking the interceptor batteries. But these relocations create temporary blind sectors in the defensive umbrella. The drones find them instantly. A massive explosion near Fujairah sends a critical fuel storage facility into flames that are visible from offshore shipping routes miles away. Thick black smoke rolls heavily over the terminal, while emergency vehicles struggle to move through narrow access roads that are crowded with evacuating workers and halted transport trucks. Port operations stop completely within the hour. Massive loading cranes freeze in place over endless container stacks. Several large ships remain anchored offshore, waiting for a maritime clearance that never comes. Further inland, reports begin emerging of precision impacts near vital industrial facilities tied to aluminum production and energy processing. Officials refuse to confirm direct hits, but thermal imagery circulating among regional security channels shows active fires spreading across multiple sites simultaneously. The concern inside the Emirati command centers shifts immediately from interception to pure endurance. How long can the defensive network actually sustain this relentless pace? Interceptor inventories are strictly finite, and the logistics of reloading them under fire are breaking down. Radar crews are rotating far too slowly, staring at saturated screens until their reaction times inevitably drop. Some individual batteries have already fired dozens of expensive missiles in a single night. Then, the third attack wave arrives, pushing the entire system dangerously close to a complete overload. By the 8th of May, air defense crews are operating under continuous, suffocating alert conditions. Many operators have not left their launch positions since the very first engagement cycle began hours ago. Mobile radar systems must be repositioned repeatedly across the desert to avoid becoming stationary targets, while command vehicles constantly relocate between hardened sites to dramatically reduce their vulnerability to the persistent drone surveillance. But every time a radar moves, the network temporarily weakens. Attacks no longer feel like isolated strikes. They are evolving into highly synchronized, sequential pressure operations designed to drain the defenders. Every launch forces another massive financial and tactical expenditure. Every successful interception opens another temporary gap in the shield. The attacking forces clearly understand the rhythm of the defense network now. Fast-moving cruise missiles begin arriving just seconds behind the slower drone formations. This is mathematically timed to perfectly exploit the radar confusion created during low-altitude tracking transitions. Some drones intentionally expose their thermal signatures early, deliberately drawing interceptor launches, while smaller, deadlier radar returns continue approaching silently behind them at a much lower speed. It is a calculated sacrifice play, trading a $20,000 piece of fiberglass to exhaust a multi-million-dollar interceptor. The defenders immediately realize they are being baited and are forced to start ruthlessly prioritizing their targets. Not every incoming threat can be engaged immediately anymore. The operators must look at two converging contacts and decide in a fraction of a second which one is allowed to impact the ground. This is the exact dilemma the saturation attack was designed to create. It forces the defense to choose between protecting an industrial sector or preserving an interceptor for a potential strike on a command node. By forcing the defense to hesitate, the swarm regains the initiative, pushing deeper into the territorial airspace, while the operators are paralyzed by the brutal arithmetic of the engagement. In Abu Dhabi, the civilian population hears the massive interceptors launch before the automated warning sirens even finish broadcasting their alerts across the outer sectors of the city. Some high-altitude impacts occur far enough offshore to shatter glass windows across the financial district without producing visible fireballs. Others detonate directly overhead, lighting up the urban grid like daylight. The physical sound of the battle arrives in distinct, terrifying layers. First comes the deafening roar of the interceptor launch from a nearby battery. Then follows a heavy, agonizing silence as the missile climbs into the dark. Finally, the distant, rolling pressure wave of the interception washes over the streets. Inside the command bunkers, military radio traffic across the Emirates becomes increasingly compressed and highly procedural. There are fewer verbal confirmations and significantly shorter transmissions. Launch crews frantically report their reload states while radar sectors urgently request track validation from neighboring batteries. Intermittent signal interruptions begin severely affecting target continuity across the shared network. The automated systems are struggling to merge the conflicting data points into a single coherent picture, leaving the human operators to guess where the missiles actually are. The strain on the network finally causes a critical failure when one exhausted operator loses an incoming track for exactly 6 seconds over the jagged coastline. When the hostile signature reappears on the scope, it is already well inside the minimum engagement range. The interceptor launches late, missing the optimal collision window by a fraction of a second. The resulting proximity detonation fails to vaporize the target, and massive chunks of burning debris fall heavily into a sprawling industrial district near the vital harbor infrastructure. Secondary fires immediately erupt, sending black plumes into the early morning sky. By dawn, massive sections of the Gulf airspace are completely empty. Commercial aviation has rerouted around the entire region, creating a massive logistical bottleneck in global transit. Dozens of commercial tankers wait helplessly outside the Strait of Hormuz under naval escort requests that simply cannot be immediately fulfilled. The American warships are entirely occupied, still conducting relentless strike operations against the primary launch sites along the opposing coast. The economic artery of the world has been successfully severed without a single occupying soldier ever stepping foot on the ground. Inside the opposing territory, the consequences of the aggressive swarm are already materializing as the retaliation begins. American strike packages immediately target the specific radar stations, drone assembly facilities, and missile command nodes tied directly to the attacks in the Gulf. This is no longer an isolated exchange of warnings or a carefully measured diplomatic dispute. The conflict has escalated into a brutal campaign where each side is now actively targeting the very systems that allow the next attack to happen. Radar coverage is severely degraded. Launch coordination centers are destroyed. Maritime surveillance platforms are wiped from the board. Fuel distribution networks and command relays are systematically dismantled to blind the opposing forces. But every single hour the conflict continues, more of the civilian infrastructure across the Gulf is forced into the dead center of the engagement zone. The deep water ports slow down first, choking off global supply lines. Then commercial aviation grinds to a complete halt. Then shipping insurance premiums skyrocket past profitability, freezing fuel exports in place. The military pressure spreads faster than the physical missiles themselves. Every interception above the Gulf carries a massive, cascading economic consequence below it. The true scale of the American response manifests as retaliatory strike coordinates are transmitted securely to United States launch platforms holding station in the region. The Aegis combat systems aboard the United States ship Truxtun, United States ship Rafael Peralta, and United States ship Mason register simultaneous thermal blooms along the coastline. But this time, they are not acting defensively. The 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers transit the Strait of Hormuz in a tight, impenetrable defensive formation while coastal radar emissions spike in a desperate attempt to track them. The destroyers do not alter their course by a single degree. Vertical launch cells open in rapid succession, painting the night sky with the brilliant solid propellant exhaust of offensive cruise missiles. Advanced combat systems effortlessly calculate the optimal engagement windows, managing dozens of simultaneous outbound trajectories while actively ignoring the frantic electronic jamming attempts. American ordnance slams into military facilities across the southern coast with devastating precision. Missile launch sites, hardened command nodes, and massive intelligence arrays located on Qeshm Island and deep within Bandar Abbas are systematically and violently dismantled in a matter of minutes. Secondary explosions violently ripple through a heavily fortified maritime base in Manab, sending massive shock waves across the water as hidden munitions caches cook off in the intense heat. The entire coastal intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance network goes completely dark, effectively blinding the opposing naval command. The fast attack craft that previously threatened the shipping lanes are neutralized by close-in weapons fire and targeted strikes long before they can ever reach an effective engagement range. A nearby oil tanker, caught operating recklessly within the contested transit corridor, loses its rudder to targeted precision fire and begins a slow, unpowered, and helpless drift toward the shoreline. Engagement is absolute and overwhelmingly decisive, concluding in under 2 minutes of sustained kinetic action. Deep inland, unidentified detonations begin to echo loudly across Tehran as local air defenses blindly and frantically engage perceived hostile targets over the capital city, wasting their remaining interceptors on electronic ghosts. The operational tempo accelerates so rapidly that the defending network shatters under the sheer mathematical weight of the incoming precision strikes. The American naval formation pushes straight through the critical choke point without taking a single casualty, entirely sanitizing the outbound shipping lane through overwhelming technological superiority. What began as a highly coordinated saturation swarm designed to paralyze the economic arteries of the United Arab Emirates ends with the complete systematic destruction of the aggressor's coastal projection capabilities. The toll booth that was constructed to extort the global energy market has been violently dismantled by the very force it attempted to intimidate. Every drone launch facility, every mobile radar unit, and every anti-ship battery that exposed its position during the initial barrage is meticulously erased from the battle space. The airspace over Dubai and Abu Dhabi slowly clears as the surviving interceptor batteries finally stand down from their highest alert status. But the commercial corridors remain entirely empty. The immediate physical threat has been permanently neutralized, but the broader strategic objective was already achieved the moment the first alarm sounded. The true weapon was the permanent disruption of security, proving that even a flawless defense cannot stop the terrifying arithmetic of modern warfare.